Starting the broadcast, guys.
All right, guys, welcome in. It is time for Total Bases Playoff Edition. The Major League Baseball playoffs start today. Missed you guys yesterday. Didn't really know what to do with myself at 9 a.m. without a show. But we're back for the rest of the week. So we've got playoff games the next 3 days. And then on Friday, for Friday's show, we'll talk about Saturday's games because by Thursday night, we'll know all of the matchups for Saturday's game. So we're with you the rest of the week. Before we get in, we got 4 games. We're going to cover all 4 of them. Before we get into the 4 games, as we sort of let people file in, I just want to talk about the playoffs in general because I used to be the guy that was like, well, you're never going to make any money betting the Major League Baseball playoffs. There's not a ton of value, and it's a lot tougher to do. However, I went back and looked. All 3 of us made money in the playoffs last year. So we all had plus units. I believe the 3 of us combined for 46 units. Yeah. And I actually went back and looked at my results the last couple of years in the playoffs. And I actually, so I've made a couple of, I've updated my take on this. And I want to see if you guys agree, disagree, or have anything to throw in there. I think the new format has 2 things. One, I think the new format has created more betting opportunities for an obvious reason. There's more teams, more games, and if you give us more days where there's 4 games, it's likely we're going to be able to find one winner. The other thing is baseball popularity has dipped so much during the regular season, but the playoffs are as popular as ever. And I think that kind of speaks to the new format where suddenly you get this influx of very uninformed money that was not there all year. And so I almost think, I'll go to you, Bryan, Leonard, I almost think the playoffs are more bettable than they've ever been. And I'm excited for the next month.
Yeah, I feel that way in the all professional playoffs. One of the reasons I like it is you don't have to worry about motivation because all teams are motivated once they get to the playoffs. We talked about this all year long with certain teams, Detroit, obviously, the Dodgers, the Padres. So we know what we're going to get. And the playoffs, if you've noticed, the totals are lower. And that's because every game is treated, obviously, like a playoff game. And so you're going to get your best relievers out there on a regular basis as opposed to your garbage guys. And you're using your top 3 starters. So I love the playoffs. I love the hockey playoffs, NBA playoffs. It's the easiest time to win in the NBA is in the NBA playoffs because you know who's coming up and how good the teams are. And, that's why they made it so much harder to win first quarter and first half in the NBA playoffs. So all I got to do is take the team who lost the first game and come back and, just continually roll that over. So, yeah, I'm excited about the playoffs. And as you mentioned, Ralph Michaels was nice enough to send that to us on the back end today. And I'm at this place down here in Florida. And I see how the back end gets to work a little bit while I'm down here.
$5 Tuesday today, guys. I have a $5 play up. And also, we mentioned this on the last show, but since football started, Wager Talk is allowing us to sell our MLB plays for $9, anything except for a 5% play. So stay tuned. We're all going to have probably a free play up today, and we all should have a play up for $5, whether it's baseball or another sport. My baseball MLB $5 play has been up since yesterday, so go grab it and grab these guys' plays as well. Regarding the playoffs, yes, one thing that's good about the playoffs is, like what was mentioned, the teams are not really resting people. There's no tomorrow now. During the regular season, you have months and months ahead. You worry about guys' schedules, you worry about guys fatiguing, but in the playoffs, it's balls to the wall. There's no fatigue, there's no nothing. The pitchers do tend to come out earlier in the playoff games because managers want to perhaps use them 2 times in a series. So they're generally not going to stress their starters out through 7 innings in a playoff game. So that's one thing to keep in mind if you're betting strikeouts or outs props. Most outs props I lost 2 years ago. I learned the hard way. A lot of my outs props lost because pitchers were coming out before the 5th inning. And it was because managers wanted to use them in game 4. Now in the wild card, we only have 3 games, so that's really not relevant. But when it goes to 5-7 game series, things like that, a manager might want to use his pitcher 3 times in a 7-game series. So he will maybe take a pitcher out early. So something to keep in mind.
I disagree with that somewhat, but I do think you're right about guys coming out early. I think managers just don't want the other team seeing a guy for a 3rd time through. And of course, you have the famous example of Kevin Cash taking Blake Snell out, and he's just like, what? Like, excuse me? But I do think that you're going to, and this is where, and we'll talk about this a lot over the next week and 2, you really have to handicap the manager in the playoffs more than you ever do the rest of the season.
Very much.
I think getting inside the manager's head and knowing how they might manage something will tell you kind of what you if you want to be on that team, if not. But you're right, TB. Some of them, and listen, some of them do it to their detriment. All of a sudden, it's like I gotta outthink the room because it's the playoffs, and sometimes that's just not necessary. That's the type of stuff we're going to talk about on this show. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you'll have your chance.
Really dumb decisions in the playoffs, Dave Roberts.
You'll have your chance on this show to talk about him. Listen, guys, in the comments, keep the comments coming. We're going to go right down the row. So the OCD folks in the crowd are going to be thrilled because we're going right in order, morning to night, starting with Tigers Guardians, going right to the night. So for the guys in the chat that every day are like, wish you didn't bounce around so much. Guess what? We're not doing it in the playoffs. Right in order. So don't worry about that. But I still want to hear what you guys have to say. So keep firing off in the comments. And I think Wager Talk Management might have messed up with the $9 thing. Because as I said, the baseball playoffs are the most popular games of the year. But hey, I guess we're selling them for $9. So that benefits everyone. So we'll keep that going. And today, $5. Because of course, it's $5 Tuesday. All right, we've got enough people in here now. Let's get right into it. We are starting the day. Can't believe I'm saying this, Bryan Leonard. We are starting the day in Cleveland, Ohio, because the Guardians are not only in the playoffs, but they're hosting a playoff game, something that I just didn't think was even remotely possible this season, even at the beginning of the season when they weren't 15 games behind the leader in the division. So Tigers Guardians, they absolutely owned the Guardians absolutely owned the Tigers in September, but it's a clean slate. We talked about this the last couple of weeks. The Tigers get in. Are they dangerous, and do you like them here?
I did want to point out that it's a little bit different this year because the home team is going to get all 3 games because they got to get these 3 games in 3 days, so there's not going to be any traveling. So that Cleveland being able to outlast Detroit and get that home advantage is really even more important than what at least I thought at the time. And also, as I mentioned, these are lower scoring games, so every run counts. And you mentioned Cleveland being the first game on the board. Well, Cleveland and Detroit, whoever wins this series is going to be the first game on the board just about every time, because we've got games being played in Chicago, New York, and Los Angeles, the 3 big media centers. So all the people want to be able to watch those games, all the local fans. So, unfortunately, the Detroit-Cleveland series gets first crack every day. But, hey, who cares as long as you get to play the games. Both these teams are very happy to be here. Skubal, the lefty, going against Williams. And by the way, there's 8 teams going today. 5 of those teams are starting lefties, including the Boston New York game, in which they've got 2 lefties going in that one. Skubal, the lefty, against Williams, the righty. This is starting to be a very familiar thing, as these 2 seem to be going against each other a lot lately. We're looking at Detroit, roughly about a 160 favorite here, total of 6. And that is the lowest total on the board. Let me check real quick the park factors. Progressive Field, the wind is blowing in. Should be nothing different than normal. Dodger Stadium blowing out slightly. Theirs is going to be 3% runs less than a normal game. The Yankees blowing left to right. Those would be minus 8%. And Wrigley Field blowing dead in from center field. 11% less runs in Wrigley Field as you would normally get based on the wind direction for today. Skubal and Williams. I took a look at this series. Skubal is, as I mentioned, about a 160 favorite here. Detroit is actually favored in the series in about the 120 range, even though they're only going to be favored in one of the three games. And Cleveland has seen Skubal. They've performed well against Skubal. Skubal's pitched well against them, but Cleveland has fared well. If you take a look at, I went back, the team total for Detroit in this game is 3.5. And in a game where you only expect to score 6 runs, I think that's a pretty nice bet on the under in that. If I went back and looked, out of the last 13 Cleveland games, Cleveland games at home, they've held the opposition to under 3.5 runs in 9 of those 13 games. And all of them so far in September, they've been terrific. And right now, the Detroit team total is under 3.5 at -125. And also, Cleveland has held Detroit under 4 of the 6 games in Cleveland in this month, also under the total. So they've done well. And, we usually talk about Cleveland against Detroit, and especially left-handers. Cleveland's not really built to be good against left-handers, but my roommate for this week, Ralph Michaels, had pointed out that Cleveland is 15-5 versus lefties since July 7th, and including a 7-0 run. So Cleveland against lefties is looking pretty good. Cleveland's at 2.5 on the team total. Detroit 3.5 on their team total. So I think you're either better off playing Detroit team total under or Cleveland over 2.5. I'm going to go with the Detroit team total under here, under 3.5. That's probably my one of my best bets on this show here. So we'll go with Detroit, the team total under 3.5 -125.
I would totally agree with that. Reason being, Cleveland has every advantage here except starting pitching. Cleveland's bats are hotter than Detroit's bats right now. Cleveland's bullpen much better than Detroit's, in my opinion. Sorry, my necklace is coming off. But starting pitching, actually, Skubal is a top 2 pitcher in Major League Baseball. Everybody knows that. So taking a look at Gavin Williams. Now, this is one of the pitching starters that surprised me. I thought they were going to start Tanner Bybee, but then it came out Williams, and I'm like, why would they do that? I dug a little deeper, and I found out why they did it. Gavin Williams against the Detroit Tigers, 125 at-bats against, 168 average against, and a 502 OPS. Amazing numbers and a huge sample size. So that's exactly the reason they did it. I would say game total under, maybe first 5 under 3.5, because Skubal has pretty good numbers against these guys too. But I don't think you can take Detroit at this number, because the only advantage they have in this game is Skubal. But given the stats that I just gave you right now, that kind of negates that advantage there, in my opinion. I think Cleveland is a live dog here. And coming towards the end of the season, they were much more on fire than Detroit. Detroit just kind of fizzled out and backed into the playoffs. So momentum is a tricky thing in the playoffs, though, because they've had some time off. They're regrouping. So momentum doesn't really mean all that much. But man, the Tigers, are the real Tigers the first half Tigers or the second half Tigers? I tend to believe it's the second half Tigers. So Guardians would be the only way I would go here. A Detroit team total under, perhaps, or a Guardians plus 1.5, something like that would be how I would go.
Yeah, I think the reason that they want to match Gavin Williams up with Skubal is because Gavin Williams is the more likely guy, if he's on, where he can throw zeros up. So that's where it's like Bybee, I think, is capable of giving you a nice effort, a good start. But if you're looking at someone that essentially needs to out-dual Tariq Skubal, and Gavin Williams has his good stuff, his good stuff can wipe out a lineup and can match Skubal, which I guess the thought process here is, well, he's going to go out and shut down the Guardians. At least that's what the books are saying. The total in this game is 6, so they don't think there's going to be much offense. And the other thing with Gavin Williams, which I think makes it a little bit easier to use him as your game 1 starter, is if he doesn't have it, you can bail on him quicker, because he has been somewhat of an like all or nothing type guy. When he's on, you know he's giving you 6 or 7 good innings. When he's off, it tends to be location related, putting guys on, walking guys. I think the Guardians might be able to say, you know what, we got to go in a different direction. We're going to go to the bullpen, and then it's really like a inning by inning type thing where it's like, where are we at in the game? How many resources do we want to burn here? Because here's the thing: in a 3-game series, for the 3-game series, they will burn through every reliever they need to burn through if it means they can get a win. However, if it's a different situation, let's say all of a sudden Guardians are down 4-0, it's a totally different game plan, totally different approach, because you now have to start to prepare to have your best guys in game 2 and game 3. That's why these 3-game series, or really any of these playoff series, are so intriguing, because it can change on a moment's notice. But I think that's why you see Gavin Williams here, because I think he gives them the best chance to match Skubal and get to the bullpens, which actually the Guardians have quite the advantage. If you look at this series, like, not only has their bullpen been better, but in the head-to-head games against Detroit, the Guardians' bullpen has been significantly better. So far this year, Guardians bullpen against the Tigers, 1.75 ERA. Tigers bullpen against the Guardians, 4.12. And then, you talk about Tokyo Brandon, you talk about what Tigers are we going to see? Well, yeah, like the last month, the Guardians have the best record in baseball. The Tigers are the worst record in the American League, right? Like, so, my personal thought process is you let the Tigers in. Not the Guardians. The Guardians didn't let them in, but the Astros did. And now they have new life. That scares me in terms of wanting to fade them. But I don't think you can discount the fact that this team has just not been the same team since the beginning of the year. And the thing that made the Tigers, if you go back to last year's playoffs, they were very, no one gave the Tigers a chance really in last year's playoffs. At least many people did not. The reason that they were able to win that series against the Astros, and the reason they were able to get as far as they were able to get in the playoffs, was AJ Hinch's ability to mix and match the relievers and sort of play this 9-inning game where he had a plan for every inning and he really mixed and matched. I don't know that he can do it with this year's roster. I just don't know that this relief unit or this group of pitchers is as good as last year's. And so that gives me a little bit of concern for the Tigers. With a lot of what you guys are saying in the chat, and I agree with sort of both of you, I don't know if I can. I certainly can't lay $1.60 here, but I don't know if I have enough to go against the Tigers. So I'm likely out on this one. Bryan, was that your part? Are we going to do the parlay for the show? I guess we are. 4 games, we can do one.
Yeah, we could do it. If we're gonna do the parlay, put that down for me. Detroit under the 3.5 team total minus 125.
Who's Detroit going to start in game 2? I mean, we can talk about it tomorrow, but are they going to start Montero or
here's
what?
Here's the other thing too. I don't think, I truly believe this, and especially like someone like Hinch, I really don't think these guys are looking at game 2 yet. I think I think in a 3-game series, this game is so important that I believe they might have their game 2 starter in their head, and you might not see them. But I think based on how game 1 goes is what teams a lot of times do with game 2.
Cleveland already listed Bibee as their game 2 starter.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to be the starter.
I'm assuming it's going to be Casey Mize.
Mize?
Man,
if this goes to a game 3, though, Cleveland's in trouble because Cicconi's going to be their starter, and that's not good news for them. But anyway,
I don't know. I don't know if he would be their starter for.
It's already listed. It's already listed.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. They can change. Just because a starter is listed by MLB.com means absolutely nothing. These things are going to change based on.
We'll get to that later.
they're just subject to change. I truly believe no manager has game 3 planned out yet. I think the emphasis is winning game 1, and then they'll see how it goes.
The Tigers have been like this all season, though. If they lose a Skubal game, they're in big trouble. That's the only thing.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think if the Tigers lose this game, I wouldn't be surprised if the Guardians wrap this up in 2. I think losing today would be devastating for them.
I would say in the past, a lot of these games that we thought were going to go 3 ended up being a sweep.
Yep.
So yeah, it's it's something that if you got a chance to play your team and you want them to win the series, just go for the sweep on it because you get those 2 wins and it's over. And that's something that has paid off lately. It doesn't mean it's going to pay off again this year, but still, these first games are very important. And as was pointed out by Brandon, if Detroit happens to lose this game, then they're in some tough spot because Cleveland will have the starting pitcher edge probably on them.
And the bullpen.
Someone was like, "You're thinking too much, Adam." Like, well, yeah, that's the point of the show. We're trying to break down the games. I mean,
we're going deep, guys. This is a baseball nerd show. This is not a picks show. So,
all right, and we only got 4 games, so you gotta give them the extra rub here, or else we're not gonna have an hour show. So let's get into the next game. I thought we did a thorough breakdown there. Let's try to do that with Padres Cubs. This is a very intriguing series to me. I don't read a ton of I read what I can. I only have so many hours in the day. But someone sent me a good article from the Players Tribune that Pete Crow Armstrong wrote a couple days ago. It's worth a read if you can find it out there. He kind of he wrote about his second half struggles and about going into the playoffs, October baseball, how much this means to the city of Chicago. Got me fired up. I was ready to go play after reading that. And now, of course, we've got Cubbies at home, and October baseball could be short-lived for them if they don't win here, because as we know, you're in the playoffs, but these series go quick, and you lose today, and suddenly your life is on the line tomorrow. Very interesting game 1 right here. Probably, in my opinion, this might be the best game of the day. This is the most interesting game of the day for me, because you have the Padres as an underdog on the road at Wrigley. It should be in a tremendous atmosphere at Wrigley. They're going to end up having to go with Matt Boyd because, of course, Cade Horton might have been the guy in this game, but now he's hurt. And Nick Pivetta has been great, but the Padres, Brian Leonard, have not been quite the same team on the road as they have at home. So how do you look at this one? Padres, Cubs, Pivetta, Boyd. Do you have a play here?
Yeah, we're looking at basically the White Sox have been bet up a little bit. They're up to about 123 or so with a total of 7. Matthew Boyd did a press conference yesterday, and it was pretty touching. He said he'd gone his first 8 years without making it to the playoffs, and he's so excited to be here. And he said his grandfather was always a Chicago Cubs fan, and I believe he'd passed away, and he was tearing up a little bit when he was talking about it. But he gets the call here at home. I was somewhat surprised with the opening number on the series being the Cubs minus 115. And of course, it's up to about 130 now. Chicago getting all 3 of those at home, I thought was a big advantage in this. And plus their hitters, they're starting to get their hitters back, and we'll see if they continue to play well. But this is a team, both these teams have been basically treading water for a while now. We'll see if somebody is able to turn it right on. But Pivetta's a fly ball pitcher, but as I mentioned before, the wind is blowing straight in here. So that's going to make his start even better, because that's usually, if Nick Pivetta, the last few seasons, he gets in trouble with the home runs. Other than that, the guy's been a great pitcher. And as I said, for him to be around a free agent for as long as he was, San Diego made a great deal. And if you take a look at some of the other signings in the offseason, you got to say Pivetta is probably the best pitching signing for a starter. And San Diego did a really nice job on that. But do I trust either one of these teams? They're so hard to predict at this point. I think the line is somewhat cheap with Boyd, but we've talked in the past about those because of his injuries he's had. He's already way past where he's pitched the last 2 years. And now, as you mentioned, without Horton, he has to get even more innings here in the playoffs. This could be one of those where if it gets to 5 innings or in the 4 innings, they may pull the plug on him early and let the bullpen come around. San Diego should feel pretty good about Pivetta going deeper in this game. So I don't know which way to take. The line is about where I made it, so I'm probably not going to get involved in this one.
$5 Tuesday, guys. We all have plays up for $5 free plays as well. Go to wagertalk.com to see what we have up. Mine's already up, by the way. Yeah, these two teams, I have these two teams matched up less than a point apart. This is the tightest matchup of all the playoff matchups, according to my numbers. The eye tests, Padres have such a plethora of talent, but they underperform year after year. I was surprised to look at the records and see that Chicago has 2 more wins than the Padres. That kind of surprised me because Padres are more talented, in my opinion. But and Padres have one of the best bullpens, but they underperform always. And I don't know why. So Pivetta and Boyd, looking at their stats against the batters they're facing today, they both have been rocked pretty good, and it's a good sample size. So my inclination would be go to the over because we got 2 power lineups here. But we also have 2 good bullpens. So kind of gridlocked here. Every stat I look at that makes me lean this way, I find another stat that makes me look this way. So I'm totally gridlocked in this. There's no way I'm going to bet this game. I'm probably not going to bet this series at all because I got these teams just so dead even.
Bryan, can I get my Wrigley Field weather report from you? I pretty much ask every time we have a Cubs game.
Yeah, the wind's blowing directly in. Home runs should be down 15%, doubles and triples plus 1%, singles down 7%, and total runs down 11%.
Yeah, I guessed as much when I saw the total that there might be some wind blowing in. It doesn't. I got to be honest though, it doesn't totally put me off the over here at 7 flat. I kind of go back to so what Tokyo Brandon said. Yeah, you do have 2 lineups that are capable. I think you have 2 pitchers. I'm not as high as the market seems to be on Pivetta. So that's I don't know if it's going to put me on the Cubs per se, but I'm not as high in the market as Pivetta. He's got the exit velo numbers and the barrel rate numbers and the hard hit being in the bottom 15% is concerning to me. Now, he doesn't really get many ground balls. So if this was a scenario where the wind was blowing out at Wrigley, I'd probably like the Cubs a lot more for that reason. I think the wind blowing in definitely helps him out a little bit. On the other side, I don't mind Boyd, but Bryan's made this point well over the last couple of months. He's really hammered the point home on the show, and I think it's worth noting that the innings may have start to catch up with him a little bit. I agree with Bryan in the sense that I think Counsell could go to the bullpen early. I'm not exactly sure that's a great thing. That's the one thing. It's not that the Cubs have a bad bullpen. I just don't know if I trust the guys that are coming out of that bullpen in a spot of this magnitude. I actually don't know if I trust the Padres relievers in Wrigley on the road. Whereas you look at some of the bullpen numbers from the Padres over the last month and a half. Mason Miller's been lights out. Suarez has been lights out. They clearly have the better bullpen. But you know what? I've watched Mason Miller a lot. And when he's gets a little too juiced up, he hasn't pitched in many big games in his career. I think it's worth noting. He spent most of his time in Oakland. How many big games did he pitch in? 0. And then he's pitched in a couple with San Diego. But there's been a couple of times where he's been on the road in a big spot. He's a little too juiced up. Suddenly, he doesn't throw a strike. And then it's that 101 mile an hour fastball, a little less effective. He might groove one. I go back to ticket that I cashed earlier this year. He's on the road against the Marlins. They put a little pressure on him. Kyle Stowers hits a grand slam. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen here, but I think that just saying, oh, well, the Padres have this lockdown bullpen, so they're a guarantee to go get 9 tough outs at Wrigley against this Cubs lineup. I think you maybe need to, I don't know that that's just a guarantee. On the flip side, I certainly don't think that the Cubs bullpen stringing together 4 innings worth of outs is a guarantee either. So I kind of like the over here at 7 flat. It doesn't take much to get to 7. You get to 3-3, you're free rolling. The weather is a little bit. It's just annoying that we don't have a little bit of a breeze out. But again, 7 flat makes me kind of like the over. I think you're going to have. So let's get a chat comment in here because I agree with this. Wrigley's very tough park to homer in when the wind blows in. I don't know that you need home runs to get to 7. Like, just because it's a hard park to hit a home run in, I don't think it means that these lineups couldn't get a timely hit or put up a crooked number. And that's the thing with some of these totals you're going to see in the playoffs. Seven's not that, it's not that hard to get to sit like 3-3 and all of a sudden you can't lose the over. I think it's a little light. I still would have made it 7.5. Go ahead, Bryan.
Yeah, I do want to point out, I'm not enamored with the Cubs bullpen, but they've got a lot of veterans. Kittredge, Keller, Thilbar, Pomerantz, Rogers. They've got guys that have been around for a long time. And so it's not like Palencia is one of their co-closers right now. And he's young. He's only 25 years old. But the other guys have been around the block. So I don't think it'll affect them as much as it will be some young players. And I did get a message from my new secretary, Ralph Michaels, that you were talking about a package for all of us for okay. There's okay. So I guess they're all separate. It's coming through, but you could save $50 on our playoff packages, $99 instead of the $149. So it goes by bases 99. So I guess they're not all together, but you can buy them separately. Bases 99 and save yourselves $50 from each of us. And hell, buy all three of them. So we'll get you some profit. As was mentioned, about 46 units of profit last year. And you've watched us all season long, and we know what we're doing with baseball. So, yeah, join us with the playoffs. And I do have a 4% up for $5 on today's card, and I'll be putting up a free play later on.
And bases 99 is what exactly? Can you just clarify what that is again, Bryan?
Bases 99, basically, instead of getting our playoff package for 149, each of our playoff packages for 149, you get them for 99. So for 297, you can get all three of our packages.
Go to whichever capper you like and use bases 99 to get about 30% off our MLB Playoffs package. Basically, right?
47.51 units. That's what the three of us combined to make in the playoffs last year.
Basically, so all of us made a profit last year in MLB playoffs. Go with the one you trust. And each one of us, we're offering a playoff package, bases 99. $99 for the entire MLB playoffs. Right. Until through the World Series. Yeah. Okay. This was just a second comment on the Cubs Padres, right? One thing, just a quick note. Padres are a very poor road team, and the Cubs are very good at home. So Cubs are 50-31 at home. Padres 38-43. I think that's the only team. No, the Padres and the Reds are the two teams that have losing road records here. So, yeah, Padres just underperform. Such a hard team to trust, but dang, they're so talented.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. And here's the thing with the Padres. I think when they're pricing the Padres, they're going to get a lot of credit for the bullpen. It's widely known that they have the best bullpen in the league. And if you look at a lot of the stats, like if you were just to pull up bullpen stats, you're going to see the Padres at the top of that list. Everyone knows Mason. Yeah, everyone knows Mason Miller is a beast. Everyone knows Robert Suarez is great. My whole thing is this: you put them in this environment, I do think it's a little bit of an equalizer. And then you look at what the Padres have done at Petco as opposed to what they've done on the road. I think even what my numbers make this game, I don't fully trust, because I'm gonna bump the Cubbies a little bit here. I'm gonna bump the Cubbies a little bit here to being at home, just standard. But I'm gonna definitely downgrade the Padres for being on the road, because I think the numbers show that they've been worse on the road, and B, those big time relievers, like, listen, you get Mason Miller on the mound at Petco Park, game on the line, he's probably going to throw 3 pitches by you. The whole park's going to be behind him. It's going to be good morning, good afternoon, good night. On the road, I think the outs are tougher. And so I do think that might give a little bit of an edge to the Cubs if you're looking on a side bet here.
Cubs won 92 games. I was just surprised. Going through, I didn't realize the Cubs won that many games. It didn't seem like they did, but they did. Pretty good team. Talented team.
Very interesting game. I'm not gonna. I want to see how the other two play out in terms of our discussions on them, but I may circle back to that one. We'll see. Okay, let's move on. Red Sox Yankees. What a treat some of these matchups are. The wild card round, and we're getting Guardians Tigers. We're getting Red Sox Yankees, division rivals. You love to see that. Another chapter, if you will, in the Red Sox Yankees rivalry. We're gonna get to see the crash outs of one of these fan bases over the next couple days. So that should be great for neutral people that don't care about either team. But it's Garrett Crochet, it's Max Fried, Yankee Stadium, Red Sox Yankees. Bryan Leonard, do you get involved in this one?
Yeah, I may be. Crochet going for the Boston, Fried for the Yankees. The Yankees are about a 130 favorite or so, a total of 7. But I'm more interested in the series price. We're getting the Yankees right now in about a 185 range. The reason why I like the Yankees in the series is because you've got Boston's clearly best pitcher going today, and yet the Yankees are about a 130 favorite in the game. The next 2 games, if it does get to that point, will have huge advantages for the Yankees. They've got better starting pitchers than Boston. Boston's got some young talent, but these are all young guys that haven't been in this position before. You take a look at the Yankees, and they've got Rodon out there. Schlittler has pitched terrific down the stretch, and the Yankees have that ability where the bullpen struggled early on, but is pitching much better now. And from a hitting standpoint, obviously the Yankees have the better hitters. They're the better home run hitters. Boston really doesn't have a lot of home run power. They had their third baseman who wouldn't leave, Devers. Devers was the guy who they couldn't get to play first base. He leaves, and if you go back and look, he was really good in Boston. He was really hot when he played. And then you also have the Boston rookie who is no longer there, and he's not playing right now. And those are their two best hitters on the season. Bregman started the year great, but he hasn't hit well in the second half. I've got some concerns against Boston. Normally when Boston gets together with the Yankees, I like to play the underdog in that. I just think the Yankees right now are so much better than this current Boston offense. You're not going to find a bigger discrepancy, other than maybe the Dodgers and the Reds from the hitting department. But the Yankees are much better hitters than Boston is. They got much better power, and they are playing at home. And I like the way the bullpen's coming out. So I'm not going to get involved in this game 1, but I do like the Yankees to win this series. That would be my better bet in this.
Yeah, hard to argue with that. Given the fact that after Crochet, the Red Sox will be putting out Brian Bayo. Lucas Giolito's out, so who do they got after that? Kyle Harrison? I don't know. If this goes to game 3, they're in trouble. If this goes to game 3. Because the Yankees probably will not start Will Warren. They'll probably go with Schlittler over Warren in game 3. But anyways, we're jumping ahead. Regarding today's game, this is so great. I love playoff baseball game 1s because you get such good pitching matchups. We got Crochet and Fried. These are 2 top 10 MLB pitchers. And if you look how they performed against the teams they're facing, both, as you would expect, like 220 averages against the teams they're facing and like 600 OPSs. Not great, not horrible, but definitely better than average. Yankees have pretty much every advantage, but kind of a slight advantage. The bullpen, though, they do have quite a big advantage over Boston here. But the hitting, I got the Yankees ranked 6, where I got Boston ranked 10, so slight advantage. But overall, Yankees are the better team. But I like Crochet a little more than I like Fried. But is a pitching advantage. This is kind of similar to the Tigers game today. I like the Tigers starter better, but is just having a better starter enough to take them? No, I don't think so. I think the books, when they're pricing things, they consider starting pitching. They put a little too much emphasis on starting pitching sometimes. But given the fact that I like Crochet better than Fried, I was surprised to see the Yankees favored here. Something's wacky about this number. But Boston, if they don't win this game, they're in deep trouble. I'm not going to bet the game, though. But I do think the Yankees will probably win.
I'm going to make a statement that I think people will disagree with, but listen, like hear me out first, because the Yankees are the best team in the American League. I'm not saying they're going to the World Series. Okay, matchups, it's hard to string together wins in the playoffs. This right now, in my opinion, is the most talented team in the AL. And listen, the Mariners have a great team, but I think when you take everything into account, hitting, pitching, ballpark factors, right? Like everything into account, I think the Yankees are the toughest out in the AL right now. And the fact that they get this game at home is massive. I said a couple weeks ago, I thought the Red Sox would be the odd team out in the American League. The only reason that they weren't is because the Astros couldn't beat the Oakland or the West Sacramento A's down the stretch, right? That's the only reason the Red Sox are still in the playoffs, in my opinion, is that the Astros couldn't. Now, maybe they would have gotten in over the Tigers. I'm not sure. But the point is, the point I'm trying to make with the Red Sox is they haven't been a playoff team since Rowan Anthony went down. It's Titan CT. I still like the Jays, but I'm saying that I think the Yankees are the most talented team. I think when you look at this Yankees team, put them on their home field, look at what Max Fried has done over the past month and a half. Last 7 starts for Max Fried. 6-0, 1.55 ERA. Like, if I don't know, I don't know that there's another guy right now that I want with the ball in the playoff game, like that I trust more maybe than Max Fried. I mean, you talk about the Blue Jays. I'm not going to go too far off topic. Who do you want on that team with the ball right now that you're like, yeah, I love this spot in a playoff game, right? Who do you want on the Guardians? Gavin Williams? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm talking about, look at the American League. You want Logan Gilbert in there? Like, he's been good, but I also think he's hurt. I'm just saying, like, this Yankees team, Max Fried, them at home, Judge, I know he hasn't been great in the playoffs in his career, but that's a small sample. That could obviously change. I think the Yankees are going to be a very tough out. I agree with Bryan. I like them to win this series, and I will make them our parlay leg here. So my parlay leg is going to be Yankees money line. Don't love -130 against Crochet. Listen, I respect the hell out of Garrett Crochet. He's a great pitcher, but outside of him here, I just don't see what the Red Sox have that gives them any sort of edge in this game. Bryan, go ahead.
Yeah, when I look at the Fangraphs page for the roster resource, they've got over the last 14 days, Max Fried is the number 1 pitcher in Major League Baseball, number 1 starter. And if you look at the last 7 days from hitting, Aaron Judge is the number 1 hitter. And Giancarlo Stanton, Mike Stanton, if you were around long ago like me, he's the 9th best pitcher. So they got their 3 and 4 hitters are both top 10 hitting right now. And their starting pitcher is the best for the last 14 days. It's tough to go against that. You know, Aaron Judge, as much as we like the big dumper, Aaron Judge is probably the most talented hitter in Major League Baseball, at least in the American League. And he's the hottest hitter in baseball the last week. Granted, anything can happen, and the playoffs are a little bit different ball game, but he's coming in here red hot. So it's hard to go against the Yankees right now. I think Seattle is the better team. I think they will win the American League, but you made a great point. The Yankees are a tough out. They've got the experience. They've got a lot of depth, and we all know the changes they made into their bullpen, which are starting to pay off a little bit right now. So, yeah, one of the reasons why I like the Yankees to win this series.
If it does become Seattle Yankees, I'll say this about that series: the Mariners will have a much tougher time winning in Yankee Stadium than the Yankees will have winning in Seattle. I think that would be the only sort of, thing I would say about that, because I'm not disagreeing with you. The Mariners, I do think if you were to put rosters, bullpen, starting pitching, I could, and obviously I've liked them all year. I'm invested in them, so I hope they win. But like when I look at like their biggest competition in the American League, I thought it was going to be the Blue Jays, but now that you start to see some of the injuries that they've had, and I kind of look at their rotation, I'm like, I don't know if that rotation matches up with one of those two. Point I'm trying to make here is I think the Yankees are very talented. I think they're starting to play their best baseball at the right time. If you go back to that Marlins series, which was a total disaster for the Yankees, they're kicking the ball all over the field. Jazz Chisholm's throwing it into the fourth row. They're getting beat. I think they got swept in Miami. Like almost since that point, it was the low point of the season for them. The Yankees have really turned it around. And I don't know that they've gotten the credit they've deserved for it because they didn't win a division. There's been other better kind of stories in Major League Baseball. And I'll throw this out to both of you. Is it safe to say the Yankees have flown under the radar a little bit right now? Because I just don't think they're getting the hype they usually get.
I agree.
I think that might have to do with the fact that they didn't win the division, number one. And they're probably the worst fielding team in all of Major League Baseball. Those two factors probably take them off the radar a little, but you're right. They are extremely talented. Even after Judge and Stanton, they still have some decent hitting, which I didn't expect at the beginning of the season.
I will point out that Jazz Chisholm was injured, and I haven't seen if he's playing today or not. Bad defensive player, but the guy does have a decent bat, so he's been very good.
Yeah, listen, the margins are so thin in the playoffs, especially when you get a matchup like this. We could sit here and argue all day who's better, Crochet or Fried. It's a very, I mean, you can make incredible cases for both. But I just think if this game got into the bullpens, I'd rather have the Yankees bullpen on their home field. I'm not a huge fan of the group of Red Sox relievers. And then, of course, you're now going to put them in a tough, high-leverage spot in Yankee Stadium. Priced appropriately, probably. But, again, we only have 4 games to choose from. And for the parlay, I'm okay with minus 130. So, and I agree with you, Brian. I think the Yankees series bet is a great bet. I don't see the Red Sox winning this series. So, yeah, I will go with the Yankees. And that brings us to our final game. I think I've timed this out nicely. We've got 13 minutes left on the show. One more game to talk about. Tokyo Brandon is going to get his chance to talk about how Dave Roberts is a terrible manager. But we're going to let Bryan Leonard go first. So the nightcap tonight, out west, Reds, Dodgers, Hunter Green, Blake Snell. Who do you have here?
Snell the lefty, Green the righty. We're looking at the Dodgers about a $2 favorite right now with a line total of 7, slightly to the over. If you're looking at the series, the Dodgers are upwards of the $3 range, $2.80 to $3. Obviously, the Dodgers have the better pitching, although Hunter Green's been terrific. He's just been awesome, but he's much better at home than he is on the road on the season. And you could actually say that this could be like found money for the Reds because they weren't expected to be there. They had fallen back, and the Mets put them in this position. They didn't win the playoff spot. The Mets just choked it away. And so Cincinnati comes in, with no pressure at all on them. And the Dodgers, obviously being the defending champs and all the money they have in the team, there's a lot more pressure on the Dodgers. So this first game is very important. If Cincinnati was to win this game, there'd be a ton of pressure on the Dodgers after that. And that's something that I don't want to have them laying $3 as a favorite in this. So, and when you get to the playoffs, every team that's in the playoffs has been able to win on other teams' fields. They've been able to beat good pitchers as the season goes on. It's not like you got the Road Rockies here where they've only won 18 games over the entire season on the road. We've got every series has got teams that are very good at the underdog role. Now that said, I don't know if I'm going to get there with Cincinnati, but I can't lay this number with the Dodgers. It's just too much for me against a team that's even if you're a 500 ball club, which basically the Cincinnati Reds were, and they're much better at home than they are on the road. They're still a good team, and a lot of this will depend on if the Dodgers get Smith back at catcher. Now, they say he's probably going to be back, but he is so good about shutting down the opposition's running game, and that's what Cincinnati can do. Now, granted, they didn't steal nearly as many bases this year as they had in the past. Francona is not a guy who goes out there and tries to steal that extra base. But that shuts down a major part of the Cincinnati team because from a power perspective, the Dodgers have a lot more power than Cincinnati does. And Cincinnati's got to be able, against the quality pitching like the Dodgers, they've got to be able to run into some runs, steal some bases, go from first to third, that kind of thing. So with Smith, the catcher, I think that's a big deal. If he's starting at catcher, I don't want Cincinnati. If for some reason he's DHing today, then there's more value on Cincinnati in that regard, if you ask me.
The Dodgers have talented pitching. They have talented starting pitching. They have good names in their bullpen, but their bullpen has been atrocious this season. I mean, Blake Trinan, yes, he was injured for a lot of the season, but since he's come back from injury, he has not been himself. Makes me worried because many guys in the clubhouse will say he has the best stuff in that bullpen. Tanner Scott, awful since he came to the Dodgers. I expected big things from him. He's been terrible. Vesey has been good. Who else has been good in their bullpen? They've got two guys who have been consistent in their bullpen. And then they're just throwing out dudes out there. So the bullpen is hard to trust, but I like the Dodgers. I'm going to make the Dodgers my parlay leg. I'm going to make them Dodgers first 5 money line, my parlay leg. And I'll tell you why. Hunter Green has been great this season, but he has an 800 OPS against the Dodgers in his career against these batters. And one of the biggest discrepancies in home road records, he's 1.58 ERA at home and a 4.8 ERA on the road. And that's not against the Dodgers. That's against anyone. So I think the Dodgers have a good potential to tag Green here early. Several ways you could go here. Dodgers first 5 over 1.5 even, I think would be a decent way to go. But Blake Snell against these Reds, unbelievable numbers. 48 at-bats against, 104 average against, and a 314 OPS. That's almost 400 points below what I consider the Mendoza line for OPS. Unbelievable numbers. I think Blake Snell is going to shut these batters down. The Reds are the one team that pretty much doesn't belong in the playoffs. They backed their way in by losing their last game, and they got lucky that the Mets lost. So, I mean, they don't belong here. I think the Dodgers will just mop them up, in my opinion. So that's going to be the bullpen does worry me. But yeah, Dave Roberts. Yeah, we'll go on Dave Roberts. We'll wait till Dave Roberts blows a game, and then I'll go off on him. But I'll give him a long leash until he makes a dumb mistake. If he pulls Blake Snell after 3 innings, I'm gonna throw up.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, TB, I can't disagree with that. All your points are sound points. The one thing I will, I guess, push back on a little bit is like, I don't think that it matters that maybe like a team back their way into the playoffs. Like, I don't think that's like a way to sort of like make a case against a team. Because again, I think sometimes you get in that fashion. Like Brian Leonard said, you're playing with house money. You're very dangerous. That being said, in this matchup, I definitely think this matchup suits the Dodgers. I kind of like that Dodgers team total over. I think Dodgers team total over is a pretty good way to go here. Reason I think that you could see some runs in this game, especially maybe the Dodgers scoring some runs. Hunter Green is really like, he's going to throw almost all fastballs, probably 55, 60% fastballs. And like, I mean, if you look at what he's done this season, it's 100 miles an hour. Here it is. Do something with it. And the Dodgers are one of the teams that can do something with that, probably more so than some other teams. So, you know, if you look at Hunter Green's like the StatCast page, his metrics, it's very good, except in exit velo and hard hit rate, and he doesn't get a ton of ground balls. The reason he doesn't get a ton of ground balls is he likes to pitch up in the zone. Why does he like to pitch up in the zone? Because most guys cannot handle 100 up in the zone. It's a tough pitch to handle. He beats a lot of good major league hitters because he throws 100 miles an hour and he puts it near the top of the zone where it's still a strike, but you want to swing at it. Elite hitters can handle that. And when an elite hitter, let's say a Shohei Ohtani, or even a Mookie Betts or a Freddie Freeman or a Will Smith, or a Max Muncy or a Teoscar Hernandez gets a hold of 100 at the top of the zone, where does that ball end up? in the seats, in the crowd. That's where 100 miles an hour up ends up with a guy that can square it up. The thing is, for Hunter Green, a lot of teams don't have 6 or 7 guys that can square that pitch up. The Dodgers have 6 or 7 guys that can square up a 100 miles an hour four-seamer and put it in the seats. And that's why when I see his hard hit percentage and his exit velo being in the bottom 20% of Major League Baseball, but his numbers being so good, what does that tell me? Well, he's going to blow that by a lot of people, a lot of players. It's going to give, and he's not giving up many base runners. You're not going to really string hits together against Hunter Green. What you can do, though, is catch up to 100 up and then put it 8 rows deep in the seat, and all of a sudden you have a couple runs. Team total is like over 3.5, minus 140, minus 145. I'm kind of going to be surprised if the Dodgers don't get to 4 runs here. And also, just if you want to talk about the game total, or if you like the Reds at all, I'm almost going to be a little bit surprised if the game total doesn't go over, because I do think the Reds are going to have to score some runs to stay in this game. So if you like the Reds, I think you have to like the over a little bit. Like, I'm just not seeing like a 2-1 type game, which I guess is a statement because, of course, Blake Snell, Hunter Green, like, they're both really good pitchers. Snell's been great of late. Tokyo Brandon pointed out that there might be some runs late to be had off the Dodgers bullpen. I don't disagree with that either. So I think the best way to play it, TB, I kind of agree with you. First 5, if you don't like the money line, maybe like the over in the first 5 being 1.5, that seems very low. That's basically a bloop and a blast, and you're there. And that's probably going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if you get 2 times through the order against Hunter Green in those first couple innings, like, someone's going to hit one pretty far. And if it goes out of the ballpark, you might have that first 5 over. So I'm with you there, TB. Go ahead.
Speaking of 100 mile an hour, have you seen Ohtani's barrel speed? My God, he swings that bat fast.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, versus guys' fastballs too, and that's what Green throws. I do want to point out that for some reason, Cincinnati's decided Zach Littell will be the starter for Game 2. Kind of surprised me, as well as Abbott and Lodolo have pitched. Maybe he's just going to pitch a couple innings as maybe an opener, and then Abbott or Lodolo will come in after that. But that was a little bit of a surprise this morning. And then Singer's been pretty solid all year long too. So interesting how they're setting that up. Keep that in mind tomorrow that Littell will be starting, but we don't know how long he'll be going. And he's a fly ball pitcher. I guess pretty good home run hitting team.
I think the Reds are in big trouble. I mean, they're a 500 baseball team. They don't belong in the playoffs. They're in big trouble, in my opinion. But I said the same thing about Max Muncy, and I said the same thing about the Brewers, and look what happened to both of them. Brewers had the best record in MLB, 97 wins.
So much Risen Wave in the chat. Risen Wave in the chat points out, I think the Dodgers got to Green last time they saw him, which is probably about a month ago. And it was a similar type thing where I think they got him for like 5 or 6 runs over 5 innings. I'll have to go back and dig into that game a little bit further. I'm sure that a couple of those balls left the ballpark. So, TB, you settled on Dodgers first 5 money line for the parlay. Yep. Brian, can we get a price on that?
Minus 180. We're eating a little bit of chalk today.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, that's the thing. Like, the 3-teamer makes it a little bit easier to get action on some of these, sides that you might not necessarily want to lay it on. What about the Yankees? What are you seeing for a price?
The Yankees were minus 130, and my Detroit under team total was minus 125.
All right. So let's run. So we are at the end of the show. Pretty thorough breakdown on all 4 games. I think we gave out a lot of info, probably more so for you to make your own decision if that's the route you want to go. If you want our plays, give us that promo code one more time, Brian.
Yeah, base is 99. You'll get any one of us all the way through the World Series for only $99, which was originally $149. So that's a pretty good savings. And we are putting out, as was mentioned earlier, all of our baseball plays the rest of the way will be for $9, I believe. But
aside from 5%,
5% are 35. So any 5% we have is definitely. If we have 5%, that's you're probably better off getting it all the way through. But I'm sure we'll have more than that. So we'll see how it goes. But, it's good time to get our package for the rest of the time.
And to mention, today is $5 Tuesday as well. So we're all going to have a play out, I'm sure, for these MLB, or Bryan and Adam do football, so they might have a football play. But $5 Tuesday today, and we all put free plays up too. So go to wagertalk.com and click the free plays page to see what we got.
All right, before we sign off, the parlay one more time. Bryan Leonard is going to go with the Tigers under team total under 3.5 in the early game. That's Tigers team total under 3.5 for the full game. I'm going to go with the Yankees on the money line for the full game. Tokyo Brandon is going to go Dodgers first 5 money line. That parlay plays plus 395. And even with the not hitting one last week, we are still ahead on the season on the parlay. Hopefully we can bring that energy into the playoffs and cash a couple of these. As long as there's going to be 4 games a day, I think we can probably do a parlay. We may have to think of something else when we get later, but this week, at least the next 2 days, we'll get one out. And who said we couldn't do an hour show with only 4 games? We still went over. It doesn't.
When we have Adam, we never have a problem going in.
Hey, I
give him the microphone. He can do it by himself for an hour.
Actually, we probably all talked about the same today.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're making packages on the coupon codes on the fly here. I wasn't expecting that. So we had plenty. But no, I'm glad.
When Ralph is in the house,
we didn't even need to have we didn't even need to have Tokyo Brandon go into story time or do turn it into a talent show. We did our show. It was perfect.
No fireball.
So so no, I'm fired up for tomorrow. Hopefully all these games split, and then we've got 4 games on Thursday. Who knows? It was a great show. Hopefully this, hopefully everyone is ready to go for the first day of the postseason, and we'll be back tomorrow 9 a.m. to do it all over again. So have a great day, everyone. Bases 99 is the coupon code. Get you the full playoffs for any of the 3 of us, and $5 Tuesday. As always, we'll see you guys again in the morning.